So this will be the first webinar, and in the first webinar we want to open up the subject. We want to discuss, perhaps give a broad view of the whole subject of wellness. We want to talk about in overall, want to first paint the picture, the background, where we're coming from, what problems we're dealing with, what solutions they've been proffered, and how those solutions are faring in the society. I might say in different economy bands, in different environments, in different circumstances, in different situations. And then I would point out the scenarios that a lot of people run into, scenarios that a few people run into, many people run into, most people run into, and almost everybody runs into. And then I'll discuss the scenarios from the perspective of the person being cared for, or the client. I won't necessarily say patient, but I'll just say the client, and then the person providing the guidance. I might use the concept of wellness guidance. You could say wellness coaching, but I would prefer to call it wellness guidance. I prefer that concept, and I could view my center as a wellness guidance center, WGC, because what we do is guide someone into higher levels of wellness and continue to guide them so that they sustain that new lifestyle and they don't lapse, they don't relapse, they don't fall back, and they also don't procrastinate to make the transition, because I guide them through. I know the pitfalls, I know the dangers, I know how to avoid them, and I also know how to get out of them if you find yourself in them. I have that confidence. I have my own testimonies. So there's a combination of scientific background and also personal experience, and enough research and data to substantiate the claims and assurances that I am offering, to say that I will help someone to transition from the lifestyle that they are in, that has led them into a difficult circumstance, something that's threatening their at least health, but could be life-threatening or just budget-threatening, whichever is the bigger problem for you. Either way, it's threatening something, and I'm coming in to help out, to dig you out of the trouble and put you in a path that gives you your own confidence in ability to continue walking on your own and never look back and make it. This is the overall description of what this is about. So maybe I'll now dive into a little bit of detail of what's been happening. So there have been a lot of writings, a lot of books, a lot of individuals, gurus. I might say that there's general agreement that there is a problem in terms of health and wellness, and there is a problem or a limitation of what healthcare says provision. In other words, your medical industry has to offer. There is some sort of limitation, a limitation in terms of the outcome or the results, or the costs or the side effects. Either way, it's a cost, whether it's a health cost because of a side effect of medicines, or it's a financial cost. It's just cost. or time lost, because the solutions are sort of, killing your time. So either way, these are the resource constraints that are generated by the medical approach to disease and conditions that are unpleasant or unwelcome. So there's a general consensus that there is another approach to the problem from the perspective of lifestyle, from the perspective of holistic or naturalistic solutions. I won't necessarily say medicine, because sometimes not actually necessarily a medicine, but perhaps a method, perhaps a technique, strategy, approach, or change, advice, wisdom, that then counters the problem or makes the problem not even come into fruition. Sometimes when the problem is really good, it actually becomes difficult to measure the effectiveness, because it was so effective it made the problem never show up. So it's actually difficult to even notice that there is a problem that's been solved, because the problem has been prevented from occurring. So measuring the magnitude of a problem that didn't occur, it's quite a challenge, right? So how do you put a price to that? The problem never occurred. How do you measure something that never occurred? Now, while there may be a general consensus that as an alternative to medicine, like hospital medicine, still there are a lot of challenges that have been encountered in that. There are so many methods, there's so much data, so much technique, and you can find that someone has tried so many things, so many diets, so many nutritional plans, so many herbs, so many philosophies, Eastern, Western. And I would say they relatively have some workability, some outcome, some results, and quite possibly better than medicine, formal medicine in general, probably. But you find that a lot of these are not backed by big organizations or big institutions. So sometimes they don't get sufficient endorsement, or when something that works is seen in the market, it's just ignored, so that it eventually dies a natural death just by virtue of not getting sufficient attention. It just dies eventually. Why? Because probably it will be too good, so good it actually threatens existing empires. Well, not delving too deep into the conspiracy theories, but it just has to be mentioned so that one is an appreciation of why things that work are not necessarily the things that are given as much weight, attention, emphasis, media coverage. It comes down to who is going to do it, who's got the power, who's got the authority, who's got the financial resources to put the information out there, what's in it for them. And some solutions don't benefit anyone except the actual beneficiary, the user, the client, or the patient. And such solutions are not pushed by anyone because no one else benefits from them. Fasting, for example, no one benefits from it. The coach might benefit from it, but because it's too efficient, you find that it's not given sufficient emphasis, except when some super passionate and obsessed fellows like myself decides to go the whole 9 yards and researching and mastering the entire field and bring it to a science. Maybe that's rare, but that's probably why it then doesn't get sufficient momentum, because it is a technique that is it's not given the support and weight of the media, of the conventional media, and sometimes subtly and covertly underplayed by the powers that be. Anyway, the many challenges that are also encountered from perhaps the amount of scientific data behind can be a little overwhelming, because it's so much. It's biochemistry, for Christ's sake. It's biochemistry that may well be too much even for doctors. Now, when something gets that deep, it becomes a problem to disseminate it, to bring about comprehension of it. I'm not saying that doctors are not intellectually capable, but I'm saying that it is not necessarily included in their curriculum, because the curriculum is sponsored by someone who does what? Typically, who manufactures equipment or manufactures drugs. What's in their best interest? Alright, so yeah, it might be difficult for me to hold myself back from here and there lashing out at some of these entities, but kind of, yeah, it drives me up the wall that so much can be done to suppress or repress, withhold something that could potentially alter the trajectory of a whole species. Anyway, my focus is just to help those that want to be helped. It won't necessarily be anyone, most people, because it requires a certain appetite for knowledge, a certain need for change, certain desire to come out of the situation you're in. That's not everybody. There's a certain convenience, certain comfort in staying in a certain lifestyle. So that convenience, that comfort can actually discourage a lot of people from even paying attention to the things that I have to say, or from the care that I wish to offer them to get out of the situation they're in. But there are those that would be interested, whatever percentage that is, but that would be the percentage I would be willing to commit my time and energy to. Because you and I can change things for better and for good. There are obstacles, perhaps from the perspective of also discipline and confidence that the path you're on is the path that will get you out. But this is managed by regular measurements, self-assessments, and even third-party assessments, so that you also know that you are making progress, and you have that certainty that what you're on is something that will give you long-term results. I guess I'm now divulging a little bit about my method. That's just a tip of the iceberg. The full method, the full ecosystem, with sufficient attention given to my advices to get you out.